You are standing completely exposed in a freezing wooden barracks, your thin shirt clinging to your chest, forced to hand your only piece of black bread to a heavily muscled career criminal. He is entirely shirtless, a giant portrait of Joseph Stalin tattooed across his bare pectoral muscles. He doesn't say thank you. Instead, he steps uncomfortably close, his chest pressing against yours, radiating a terrifying heat in the sub-zero room. He pockets your bread, tosses his heavy wool coat onto your shivering shoulders, and runs a cold, calloused hand firmly down your waistline to claim his property. Congratulations, you have just signed a completely non-consensual Siberian prenup. Welcome to being a gay prisoner in a Soviet gulag. Forget the sanitized Hollywood spy movies. You have just spawned into a sprawling, hyper-paranoid meat grinder where your bedroom preferences aren't an identity. They are a legally classified anti-communist disease. It's the 1950s. You are an attractive 20-year-old from Moscow. But out here in the infinite, lightless wasteland of Siberia, your past life means absolutely nothing. The only thing that matters is your criminal charge. Article 121, the strict Soviet law that explicitly makes being gay a state crime. It means you are instantly, permanently branded as a peytuk, a rooster. The absolute lowest, untouchable caste in a prison society run entirely by hardened, tattooed mafia bosses. You are no longer considered a human being. You are a highly taxable, heavily exploited piece of public property. In a camp filled with 5,000 starving, freezing, sexually frustrated men who haven't seen a woman in a decade, an unclaimed, attractive 20-year-old is basically a walking lottery ticket. If you remain a free agent for even one night, you will be dragged behind the logging sheds. You will be subjected to a savage, communal nightmare that will leave you permanently deleted from the camp's census. Surviving alone is mathematically impossible. You were forced into a terrifying, high-stakes audition process just to secure the right to breathe. You targeted the Pakhan, the camp boss of the whyitsucks, the Russian mafia. The Stalin tattoo on his chest isn't out of patriotism. It's there because Soviet firing squads are legally forbidden from shooting the leader's face. It is a literal bulletproof vest made of ink. By accepting his lice-ridden coat, you just secured your survival. But here is the absolute darkest, mind-bending psychological twist that makes your new domestic reality so uniquely horrifying. You actually need him. Being claimed by a terrifying, untouchable mob boss is the absolute only thing stopping 300 other violent felons from turning you into recreational currency. He isn't just your abuser. He is your employer, your radiator, and your literal life insurance policy. Rejecting him wouldn't just mean a broken heart. A casual nod from this man to his lieutenants would mean your immediate, brutal disposal in the frozen tundra. That terrifying mafia boss is the only thing keeping your lungs inflating. So when the camp generators power down and the barracks plunge into suffocating darkness, the rent for your survival is violently collected. Negotiation is a myth. Personal space does not exist. Genuine consent is a luxury you simply cannot afford in the Soviet Union. You must perform your duties in the freezing dark with total, unquestioning enthusiasm. You are basically a state-sponsored blow-up doll with a survival instinct. If you lay there like a dead fish, he takes it as a direct insult to his criminal authority. And injuring a mobster's ego in a wooden bunkhouse with 0 witnesses results in a savage, career-ending accident during tomorrow's logging shift. But there is a sick, completely deranged catch to your performance in the dark. If you show too much desire, if you move too eagerly, his fragile masculine paranoia violently spikes. He might actually convince himself that he is catching your disease, which would ruin his standing with the other mobsters. You are forced to walk a terrifying psychological tightrope. You bite your lip to muffle the sound of your own panicked breathing. You follow his crude, whispered instructions exactly. You let this scarred, violent warlord use your body in ways that shatter every boundary you possess. Dissociation takes over so entirely that your consciousness leaves the freezing barracks and floats out over the dark Siberian pine trees. Your mind turns into a compliant, hypersexualized ghost, paying physical taxes to a sociopath just to survive the night. And then the physical act ends. The wind howls against the wooden planks, and the dynamic violently flips. A heavy, sweat-slicked arm pulls your head against a hairy, tattoo-covered chest. Calloused fingers gently pet your hair. For 2 straight hours, the hardened mafia boss whispers in the dark. He cries hysterically because he misses his grandmother's pickled cabbage. He sobs quietly into the filthy wool blankets because the daytime guards confiscated his favorite set of whittled wooden spoons, and it really hurt his feelings. The dominant monster who just violated every boundary you possessed is now a wounded, clingy, emotional wreck demanding to be held, and your arms wrap around him because they have to. You must provide deeply emotional, domestic intimacy to a fragile ego. It is a non-consensual therapy session, and the clinic is a freezing bunk bed in a heavily guarded labor camp. When you aren't trapped in his bed, your life becomes an exhausting, terrifying performance piece. The next morning, the guards scream for roll call. You are marched out into the blinding white taiga forest for 14 hours of manual logging. You are handed a dull, rusted axe and told to chop down frozen pine trees that are literally as hard as cast iron. The Gulag operates on a deeply evil system called the cauldron. The amount of food you get is directly tied to the percentage of your daily quota you complete. If you don't hit 100%, your rations are cut. If your rations are cut, you get weaker. If you get weaker, you chop less wood the next day. It is a mathematical death spiral designed by bureaucrats. You watch a prisoner next to you swing his axe, miss, and accidentally chop off 2 of his own frostbitten toes. The guards don't send him to a hospital. They write him up and dock his daily soup ration for intentionally damaging state property. The state property being the rusty axe he got blood on. You survive the shift only because you are terrified of what happens if you fail. When you return to the barracks, you are entirely responsible for the domestic upkeep of a frozen cage. You are washing your mob boss's filthy socks in a bucket of melted snow. You are carrying his heavy boots. You are saving him the single piece of potato from your watery cabbage soup. You become the perfect, traumatized domestic housewife in a society of murderers. You learn the twisted, unspoken rules of the camp. You forbid yourself from making eye contact with rival gang members. You only speak when spoken to, but your existence is a constant walking PR liability for your husband. If the other mobsters think he is getting soft or treating you too much like an actual human being, his authority plunges. To maintain his terrifying reputation, he occasionally has to publicly humiliate you. He screams at you in the cafeteria. He throws his tin bowl at your head in front of his lieutenants, calling you degrading slurs while you desperately scramble on the freezing floor to clean up the mess. You have to look terrified and apologize profusely, knowing it is all a highly calculated, mandatory theater performance designed to protect his mafia street cred. The psychological whiplash of being his deeply treasured emotional support animal at night and his public punching bag during the day makes you feel like your brain is slowly bleeding out through your ears. But the psychological torture doesn't stop there. The Russian mafia runs entirely on gambling. In the dim light of the barracks, the mob bosses sit around a crate, playing cards made out of glued together newspaper and blood. They bet their food rations. They bet their winter coats. And sometimes, when the pot gets high enough, they bet their wives. You have to stand silently in the corner, sweating completely through your thin cotton shirt in a freezing room, watching your abuser play a hand of cards. You are completely terrified that if he draws a bad hand, you are going to belong to a terrifying bank robber named the Surgeon by Tuesday morning. You are a poker chip with a pulse. Years grind by. You master the art of total and visible submission. But in the Gulag ecosystem, youth and physical beauty have a brutal, non-negotiable expiration date. The malnutrition, the lack of sunlight, and the heavy labor drain your youth at an accelerated, terrifying pace. Scurvy sets in. You go to the camp hospital, but the head doctor is actually a political dissident who used to be a piano teacher. He has no medicine. He just tells you to drink boiled pine needles and sends you back into the snow. By the time you are 25, your hair is thinning. You have lost 3 teeth. The smooth skin that bought your protection is permanently weathered and cracked from the Siberian wind. You stare blankly into the reflection of a frozen puddle, tracing the faint, terrifying lines forming slowly around your exhausted, sunken eyes. You know the clock is ticking. You are a biological luxury item rapidly losing its market value. But your protector doesn't sit you down and break up with you. He doesn't offer you a severance package. One afternoon, the camp sirens blare. The guards march into the barracks and read a list of names for a camp transfer. Your mob boss's name is called. He is being moved to a better facility closer to Moscow. He packs his few belongings. He puts on his heavy wool coat. He doesn't say goodbye to you. He doesn't even look at you. Instead, he casually walks over to a rival gang leader, a massive, terrifying man with a spiderweb tattooed across his neck. Your boss trades 3 packs of cheap crushed cigarettes and a half-empty bottle of smuggled vodka to the new man. He points directly at you. The transaction is complete. Your corporate restructuring is finalized. The heavy wooden doors of the barracks slam shut as your old abuser leaves. The new gang leader slowly walks towards you. He stares dead at your waistline, runs a tongue over his rotting teeth, and points to his empty bunk. You are forced to stand there and watch as the cycle of trauma resets itself in real time. You want to scream. You want to run blindly into the freezing, infinite tundra and let the snow bury you alive. But the survival instinct ingrained in you is too strong. You are completely paralyzed by the twisted machine you helped build. You lower your eyes. You survive it. You endure it. But you never, ever escape it.